Looking back, what was it like at Ife then?
If it was great. Ife has always been great.
A very
Uh,
beautiful campus.
Beautiful campus. It was great. I mean, at that time, you had a room to yourself, and you had half chicken and jollof rice or fried rice on Sundays, and you could even take for your guests, which you were doing. And every 4 o'clock, we went to the cafeteria to
To
have
take
tea
tea.
and biscuits,
Mm.
and it was good. And at every floor of the hostel, you have a fridge where you can take your water. People will not
We're
put
not
poison in it.
putting.
You have fridge, and at that time, the clothes were washed for us. Six, you submit 6 clothes every Monday,
Mm.
which will be brought the following Monday, which were
Washed
washed
and ironed
and ironed
by the
by
potters.
the potters. And it was good. We went to the library to read. We were not destroying library books. We were not stealing library books as it happened nowadays. So I learned. You are not doing that. You just, if you want to borrow, you went to the officer on duty and they will give you a card. You will fill and you take home. The day to
To
return it is
return it.
there. If you don't return there is a penalty,
Mhm.
and you pay the fine when you
Before you can be
return,
allowed to borrow another
before you
one.
can be allowed to have it. So it was really great, and we until that was on until they introduced what they call meal ticket.
Meal tickets.
Then later on they introduced how much was the meal ticket. The meal ticket was so cheap, and most of the time we gave the meal ticket to indigent students. We have so many indigent students. In fact, one of them was uh, was uh, was nicknamed Common Man.
Mm.
I'm happy Common Man later became a great man.
Mm.
I was being told that later I think he went to seminary and he did I think chemical engineering also.
Mm-hmm.
He was so poor that he was nicknamed
Common man.
Common Man. You know, but he went through the education system.
System. Okay. At a time, sir, you came to Oliver Baptist High School Oyo as a teacher.
Yes, 65.
65.
65.
Yes. Under the late Reverend J.B.P. Lafion. If you do a comparison between the two of them, Reverend Lafion, Canon Alayonde, what will you say were their strengths and how will you evaluate their handling of their schools?
Ah, yes. I think the two of them they are similar in the way they handle theirs. When I was at the Baron Grammar School, Adikanlade knew everybody's name,
Mm.
not just your surname, but also your
Your
first
first
name.
name.
And he knew everybody. There was even an incident when I was having my HSC. Sorry to digress. I had a classmate who is now the Alake of Egbaland,
Igbaland.
Obado Tungbadebo. He used to boast that thank God, Oga does not know my name, because at that time he was living with Bishop Adetiloye at
Okay.
St. David at Kudeti.
Mm.
Bishop Adetiloye was a lecturer
Later, mhm.
at that time at
Mm.
Kudeti. He was his guardian.
Mm.
So he used to say that at that time that thank God, God does not know my name. So he was a semi-day student, more or less. But one day we closed the HSC classes were under Oga's office. So and Oga was going home, and we were good afternoon, principal, good afternoon, sir. We were all greeting him. And suddenly Oga turned around and said, he said, is this not Gbadebo? Then before he could answer, he said, Dotun.
Ah,
So he said,
so
then
this man knew me.
Kabesi said, my life. Oh, so this man knows my name. So and the same thing with
Reverend
the
Lafion.
Reverend Lafihan. Reverend Lafihan had a grip on Olivet at least up to the time
You
I
left.
was there. I was there at that time. He had a grip on that time. He had a system. He was a stickler for time. he had a system when we were in the staff room. All members of staff must assemble in the staff room when the students too were getting ready
And then,
on the line
yes,
to line up, and we will, and during the rainy season, if you came late to the that, it was just a 5 minute something assembly we had in the
in the
staff
staff
room.
room.
If you came late to that one and it was raining, and everybody saw it was raining, especially for those of us who are living
Within the
teachers. For some of us, I lived on the compound because I was a housemaster teacher. But some of our teachers were living
living outside.
outside Owunikoko's house. Some were living at Owode and so on and so forth. And it was raining heavily, and that made you to come late for that meeting
Five
in the
minute
staff
meeting.
room. Oga will say, "My teacher, we go by the time, not by the weather."
Hmm.
It was a song
Hmm.
that we go by the time, not by the weather. So he had a grip of that school, and uh, I'm sure the type of they have the same, they have the same character in terms of administration, and I really enjoyed my teaching time at Olivet, because uh, I will come. I taught
Three
three or four
sets.
sets of students, because as soon as we went on vacation job
You came
on
back.
in June or August,
July.
in
July.
July or thereabout, I will go to hospital to go and do vacation job again. Oga knew it and he encouraged me to do that. Say because I was getting ready for the next class at that time in Atife. So I really enjoyed my stay at Olivet, and the same system. They had a good choir. Uh, it was uh, it was a great choir at that time that I managed at Olivet. It was a great choir, and I don't think I remember very well that when we went to one convention session, I think it was Abekuta, and took them to sing uh, uh, Magnify, Glorify. It was a standing ovation. Even at that time, after Olivet Choir had sung, it was great that time. So I would say Reverend Lafihan is also equal to the task, was also equal to the task of managing the school in the right way.
What will you now say, sir, about the standard of education? Is it that it has fallen or it is falling?
It is falling.
It is
It
falling.
has fallen. It is still falling,
Mm.
because what I'm seeing is was not good enough. That it has fallen to a stage that even the commissioner for education went to a school, and the teacher who was teaching at that time was asking, "Yes, what can I
Okay.
do for you?" Was asking the
The
commissioner.
commissioner,
That shows things are falling apart. That shows the commissioner, the teacher does not even know
who
who
the
the commissioner for
supervising
education for at that time was. He was asking the commissioner for education in Oyo State, say, "Yes, what can I do for you?" It was so shameful. The commissioner at that time was a classmate of mine, was Niyi Adelakun. At that time, it was in the days of Lam Adesina. Things has even not
did
degenerated
him.
to this level. But even as at that time, the teacher did not know who the commissioner for education was. At that time, we all knew who the commission, not just the commissioner for, not just they were ministers then, not just the ministers of education. We also knew who was minister of agric. We knew minister of transport. We knew everything. So I would say nowadays education has fallen. Most of the time, my my office at Yemetu there, you find students at as late as 9:30, 10 o'clock,
Just strolling to school.
just strolling to school. And I wonder what a child like that can learn when one or two lessons have already passed. And nothing. And nowadays, when you discipline a child, as if a teacher disciplines a child, the parent will organize to come and do a reprisal for the teacher,
Mm.
to come and beat the
Beat up
teacher.
the teacher.
It wasn't like that. At a time, Oluwole Awolowo was suspended by Adike Alayande.
And the heavens did not fall.
Nothing happened to Adike Alayande in Action Group. And nothing happened to him
As the
as principal
principal
of the
of Ibadan
grammar
Grammar
school.
School.
So he was still there. He was still there. And so that was what we saw. And that there was a particular day talking about Oluwole Awolowo as the son of the premier. We had a teacher at that time, Mr. Charles. He taught us geography. So Mr. Charles asked the class, he said, what is the population of Western region? Then he said, Awolowo, what is the population of Western region? Wole looked up and down and gave one figure. The man asked him again. He said, Awolowo, what is the population of Western
Western
region? He didn't know how to call her. He said, what's the population of Western region? Wole gave a worse figure. Hmm. Then he said, in our class, we had one or two that are much older than us. And anytime a teacher calls them out, you know
They
you're
knew.
in trouble. So he just said, Care, come out. Care has not offended, but we know where he said, Awolowo. He said, Mount Awolowo. Wole was the child of
Of the premier.
the premier. He said, no, he said this month. Then he then explained to Wole why he's disciplining him. He said that you did not know the population of Western region. I will give you 4 strokes of the cane. Then he said that your father is the premier of Western region and you don't know the population of the region where your father is the premier. I will give you additional 4. Lo and behold, I was urinating to my pants. We were just in Form 2. I was afraid that the child of
Of the premier.
of the premier, if you could beat him like this, how much less me? So I was so that was that, and nothing happened to the teacher. Nothing happened to Mr. Charles. Nothing. Nothing.
Now, sir, whose fault is it now that the standard is falling? The teacher, the parent, or the pupil?
Let me start by saying, first and foremost, the government.
Hmm.
The government itself. You see, we suddenly found ourselves in a situation where everybody thinks education can be free. We were paying school fees.
Yes.
Did you pay school fees at
Yes, we did at
Olivet?
Olivet. Yes,
We
we did.
paid.
Yes.
Uh,
£59 per year.
And even one of your seniors at Olivet, who is now a big man today, why he did not join HSC in time was that he did not get enough deposit to pay school fees.
Yes.
He came in second term. So I don't know how, from where they read it, that at that level of education that it has to be free. And suddenly children too have the mind that it has to be free. So I would say government too should do something about that. I don't know how to go back now, because we have now been taught that that education has to be
Has to
free.
be free.
The students too have a fault. Most of the students of the children nowadays even are being begged to go to school, and most of them will go and sell things in the morning before going to school at all. So I would say the children, most of them too don't, they are not, most of the children we have nowadays, they are not keen on education. They are not ready to learn. They are not ready to. I was very surprised when a student of Oluyole Estate Grammar School, or Oluyole Community Grammar School over there, came to me in the shop. He said, he was sent to me by the chief medical director of UCH, Professor Latawura. I said, for what? He said that they have reserved a space for my daughter to go and do internship. And she too had applied, but she was not taken. and the CMD told him that the only space remaining is the one that's
It's reserved for you.
for my child, for
Mm.
my daughter,
Mm.
for Shade at that time. I said, which school did you attend? He said he attended one of the schools founded by Chibolage at that time, Oluyole Community Grammar School there. I said, are you sure you attended Oluyole? He said that was my school. I said, and you applied to, where did you do your pharmacy? Then he said Ife. I said, how did you enter Ife? He said he did jam and he passed. So I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. In fact, it didn't take me a long time to take my headed paper to say
To the CMD.
to the CMD that the space can be given to her.
To her.
Because at that time, Shade already had a space at where she's working till today to do internship. She already, so I was too glad as that. But thereafter, things started to come down, really come down. Most of those here in my house, I thought of engaging 2 students to come and be working on Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. when we don't have the regular security men. But then I then thought of it again that most of these children are the ones that will go and do armed robbery, because that's their
Organized with a group.
organized. So the parents too have a fault. Parents have a fault as well. Parents have a fault. As I said, when our parents talked, I'm sure, when your parents talked,
Of course.
that
was law.
No argument, nothing. No, you don't argue. Huh? You don't argue when they talk like that.
So how about the teachers? Aren't the teachers also involved in
The
this?
teachers are also involved. Most of them, they are selling wares.
They are not prepared to teach again?
They are not dedicated like, they are like the type of teachers you or me had. They are not, they are not dedicated. Most of them are selling wares.
In those days, we used to have inspectors who came to school.
We had inspectors who would go to schools to inspect. Now, I'm not sure they have a department like that again.
Inspectorate department is not like that?
Maybe it's just there as a window dressing, because I don't see the effect. Because in those days, our teachers would just be teaching and just find one man who will enter with a notebook and will sit somewhere and be writing. And then he may not even greet the teacher. But nowadays, it is the inspector, if they have any, that will tell the principal that we are coming to your school tomorrow.
Meaning
everybody should be on ground.
For us,
everyone. So because occasionally when I interact with some of them that are around my shop at Gemetu, I say, but why didn't you come yesterday? You said you will come yesterday. Why didn't you come? He said the inspectors, they are in our school this week. How did they know?